We're here at Fans Interference on a Tuesday night. We've got 20 minutes to share with the fans. My name is Bruce the Sports Doc. I'm with Spencer G. And we have Fans Interference. We're on ESPN 610, Thursdays from 7 to 9. We won't be rolling this Thursday. We'll be going with regular national programming. It's happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Agreed. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
We want to just deal with something that's floating around in the news after the Bucs loss. I'm sorry, the Eagles lost to the Bucs. The question is whether Chip Kelly is going to stay or go, and concisely points in favor and against.
Okay, well, I believe that Chip Kelly I think that Chip Kelly wants to prove that he's one of the greatest coaches to ever coach football. And every idea that Chip Kelly does is revolutionary, whether it's, high-paced offense, the hurry-up offense, bringing in Tim Tebow, cutting Deshaun and LaShawn McCoy. Everything he does is unconventional, and he takes pride in being different than stereotypical, like Mike McCarthy and Joe Philbin way of coaching football, which is ground and pound. He's so modern, and everything he does is different. And I think that he does this because he wants to be recognized as the greatest to ever coach football, and he wants respect, and he wants his legacy to be really special. And the reason why he doesn't describe his legacy in press conferences and care all about himself is because then he will have nothing to gain, and he will admit that he's egotistical. He's very wise in downplaying it and keeping everything private. He brought in Sam Bradford because everybody doubted him, and he thinks that his way of football is so superior that he can make Sam Bradford into something really special. He takes pride when everybody doubts a player and making him special, just like with Tebow. He thinks his system is so flawless. And to give him credit, at New Hampshire and Oregon, he totally restructured those programs and made Oregon an unbelievable powerhouse. He is truly one of the best offensive minds that football has ever seen. That's why he was so coveted 3 years ago.
We're talking about motivation of Chip Kelly. I disagree. Obviously, I think he believes in the system. I believe he wants to be revolutionary. He believes in sports science, smoothies, sleeping. He believes in his training staff. And I think that he would like for him to be adopted as mainstream. Every coach wants to win. He's being paid $5 million a year. I believe he is very stubborn, very rigid, but I don't think he cares much about legacy. With respect to whether or not he'll be fired, I believe he should be fired because I believe that he's not showing any innovation at all. That is, no variability. He runs the same 4 to 5 plays over and over again. He even admitted in his press conference that when the defense goes into cover 2, he will stop throwing to the wide receivers, stop going long. And all this might be statistical or actuarial, but it's very predictable. What he'll do, he'll just throw checkdowns, he'll throw passes to the tight end, and he will not load it up. You look at, and again, you look at teams, you look at Tom Brady, you look at all good teams. They will occasionally drop back, get good protection, go back 7 yards, and unleash the football. The Eagles are unable or unwilling to do so. That's one of the many problems.
Well, I think that New England is a special case study because they do whatever is the defense's weakness, and that's what Chip Kelly wants to exploit because when a team goes into cover 2, they're throwing a lot more people out in coverage, and they're only leaving maybe 4 defensive linemen in the box. That's why he's probably running the football. The bottom line is that Chip Kelly just doesn't have the personnel. He basically is devoid of talent, and therefore any offensive system, I don't care which coach you're going to put in, when you have Mark Sanchez, Josh Huff, Riley Cooper in this receiving core, you're not going to be successful. And sometimes you need to have players that can actually be talented enough. And I truly believe that Chip Kelly in that regard is going to get fired because he's not a competent GM. He overextended his boundaries, And he basically didn't stay in his own lane of coaching offensive football. He wanted control over all the control sets when he wasn't trained to do so. He didn't deserve the right to do so. And again, this goes into my theory that he wants to be created, that he wants his legacy is so important because he wanted to control all these aspects and be so outlandish and take over everything and not just stick to coaching offensive ball.
There have been examples, rarely, of individuals who could be coaches and GMs. Two classic examples, Jimmy Johnson and Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells had a famous quote. He said, if I'm baking the cake, I want to choose the ingredients. And that makes sense. And Bill Parcells, everywhere he went, he would take a losing team and turn them around and make him into a winning team. He was a tremendous judge of talent. As far as we can tell, Chip Kelly is a poor judge of talent. Let's look at his acquisitions. Kiko Alonso was hurt many times. ACL, torn, repaired pectoralis muscle. He is, if you watch Kiko Alonso, he's playing not to get hurt. He's running away from contact. A terrible acquisition. Buffalo got the better of the deal. McCoy, granted, they say that he jukes around a lot. They call Murray a one-cut runner, one-cut go. I'll argue McCoy functioned better in the offense. You bring in Sam Bradford, you pay him $13 million. You had Nick Foles, who admittedly was benched in St. Louis. I'll argue that Nick Foles played better in this offense than Sam Bradford. I don't think you could even argue the contrary. I believe that Nick Foles is a poor fit in St. Louis. I think Jeff Fisher is a terrible coach. They shouldn't let him near the offense. So that trade, you're trying to save $1 million. All right. You offer Jeremy Maclin $10 million. He wanted 13. Go. And he took the higher offer in Kansas City. And I wasn't the biggest Jeremy Maclin fan, but at least he was a number one wide receiver. So a lot of things we took for granted. You could look at certainly Deshaun Jackson. He's been injured a lot. He's been up and down. Would he have been injured so much here in Philly? Maybe, maybe not. But what you had is a deep threat. There's nobody on this team that scares anybody. And that's Chip. You can't retain Chip Kelly, the coach, and fire Chip Kelly, the general manager.
Right. I look at Deshaun Jackson, and I really believe that if Chip Kelly would have never drafted Deshaun Jackson with his history of going out and enjoying himself, like in the Bahamas or partying on Instagram. And that's where Chip Kelly went into a situation here where in the small market, Chip Kelly could probably make those decisions without being reprimanded. And in college, you have more control over the players that you're going to be picking. And that's where Chip Kelly failed, is because he didn't have the ability to interact with Howie Roseman, the general manager. He doesn't work well with other people. He could have said to Howie, hey, listen, I just want to recruit guys that I don't have to worry about them partying and everything. And that's where Chip Kelly overextended his abilities. He also probably thought, hey, I'm so great at coaching offensive football that let's get Billy Davis all his defensive players that he needs because I'm fine on offense. I've succeeded everywhere, which is true, which does make sense. I've succeeded everywhere. We don't need to pay a lot of money for wide receivers. My system is so great. These receivers are always open, okay? And that's exactly what he thought. He thought Miles Austin could get open. He thought Riley Cooper could get open. You look at Mark Sanchez, his productivity in Philadelphia has been higher than the New York Jets. So there is evidence that Chip Kelly and this offensive philosophy works, but I just think that you're right. There is no threat of a home run talent like Deshaun Jackson and like LaShawn McCoy that there once was. So as a general manager, he's completely failed. And I wanted to ask you this question. If you were Jeffrey Lurie, didn't he make the right decision by letting Chip Kelly have all these pieces? Because if he didn't let Chip Kelly have the keys to the kingdom, then we would never know that Chip Kelly was incompetent in this area, meaning that we would blame Howie Roseman as a scapegoat.
Yeah, I'll say yes to that question. I believe that Chip Kelly essentially put a gun to Jeff Lurie's head and said, if you don't give me power, I can't work with Howie Roseman. I don't like his picks. And I believe he blamed the Marcus Smith pick on Howie Roseman. I think that was the thing. And I believe he said, I'm leaving. And I believe that didn't really come out, but it was certainly alluded to and inferred. Mm-hmm. So I think if Lurie wouldn't have acquiesced and made him the general manager, Chip Kelly would have walked. And I bet this is much of a meltdown as we have in this town. If we let Chip Kelly walk before he had a chance to fully show whether he had it or not, I think there'd be a lot of second guessers, probably indefinitely.
Right.
Because this town,
they would think like, wow, Chip Kelly, like, Chip
say,
Kelly
Jeff
never
Lurie
had the
would've given it to him.
opportunity.
But guess what? In my opinion, let's get to the point. Are they going to fire Chip Kelly at the end of the season? I believe the answer is yes. Believe they are. Terrible failure. Intelligent people, really intelligent people who I think are in the ear of Jeff Lurie are saying how bad it is. It's embarrassing. The team also it's not fun to watch at all. I'm a season ticket holder. I go to these games. These games are boring. I wanted to leave at halftime when they were down 24-14. I'm sorry, they were down 28-14. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people did. And you pan around the stadium, and the place was empty. By the beginning of the fourth quarter, everybody was gone. You think you're selling a lot of Eagles merchandise? No. Are you going to look at this? I can't even wear any of the jerseys. I've got the Deshaun Jackson jerseys. I've got Donovan McNabb. I mean, none of the players that I originally, sought after, not that it matters that much, are here. I'm not going to buy a Bradford jersey. Surely not going to buy a Byron Maxwell jersey. He's been an unmitigated failure. Yeah. He's a terrible acquisition, $63 million. So, Jordan Hicks, that was a great pick. Fortunately, went down, unforeseeable. That was your one good pick of the draft. Other than that, they didn't draft any offensive linemen. The offensive line is in shambles. Yeah. The combination of Riley Cooper, Josh Huff, Miles Austin, and Nelson Aguilar is by far, statistically and every barometer, the worst wide receiving core in the NFL.
Well, yeah. I think that Chip Kelly, it's his arrogance that ultimately got him fired because
he didn't get fired yet. Let's be clear.
Well, I think that Chip Kelly, if he would have been unselfish about this process and basically said, I'm here to coach, football. I'm going to work with the general managers to get the best team possible. And he didn't have this arrogance or ego saying, hey, Jeff Lurie, I need this team. I need to have every part of the pie. And I'm not going to give any trust to Howie Roseman or anybody in the Eagles front office. I need to do everything because I was successful at Oregon. Chip Kelly has an inability to work with other people. Okay. He has an arrogance about him. Part of that is what makes him successful, and that will make him successful at college. Is he a good football coach? I would argue that he is a great football coach that reinvented football, hence why every college football team is running up tempo, hence why Belichick went to Chip Kelly and asked him about his up-tempo offense because they do use parts of Chip Kelly's scheme. So, yes, he's an innovator. Yes, he's a brilliant offensive football mind. Is he a great judge for talent? Absolutely not. Is he a general manager? He's not. Does he have the ability to work with other people? Heck no. That's the point. When I look at Chip Kelly, that's why he's going to get fired. If he would have basically just coached his football team, been modest, been respectful to reporters, you would have to admit that Chip Kelly would have a longer leash. And do I look at this as Chip Kelly as an ultimate failure? I mean, 10-6, 10-6, 8-8. It's okay. It's not a total nosedive of a failure, but I think it was him overstepping his boundaries. I think it was his arrogance that ultimately cost him. I think he's a great offensive mind. I really do.
Okay. My argument is nothing to do with his personality or his demeanor with reporters. That's irrelevant. Nobody has a worse
demeanor with the front office.
I'm talking, please.
His demeanor with the front office.
Okay. Allow me, please. I didn't. So, Bill Belichick, terrible interview, adversarial with reporters. Jim Morris Sr., epically bad with reporters. Very good football coach. The reason Chip Kelly will be fired is nothing to do with his demeanor arrogance, because guys like Bill Belichick certainly, ironically, Chip's a player's coach for the most part. He defends his players. He doesn't throw them under the bus, even when obvious things happen, like the fight at the end of the game between Sanchez and Sproles. Chip Kelly's always there to say, I like my team. I've got a good team. We're going to win. We're not substituting any of our players. So ironically, he's a player's coach. But the fact is, why is it not working? I'm going to give you a list of 5 things. Number one, like we said, poor personnel. We've beaten that horse to death. Number two, his go quick scheme, fast, 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 doesn't work. You end up going 3 and out. You end up destroying your defense. That doesn't work. I'm going to give you 5.
I disagree, but that's fine.
Fine. I'm going to give you all the points.
Okay.
I think also getting rid of dissenting voices, okay? In the NFL, every team's got a few bunch of guys that are divas, hotheads, particularly the wide receivers. And the fact of the matter is that these players are necessary. The Dez Bryants, the Deshaun Jacksons, these guys, for the most part, wide receivers are not choir boys, and some of the best, exciting, toughest running backs are also, these aren't guys you want to play cards with. They're not guys who are politically correct. They might not be good interviews, but the fact of the matter is, you need some of these guys. You need crazy guys. You need hard-hitting guys, and Chip goes for he goes for like a good soldier. So he's got a whole team of pawns. We need some rooks. We need some kings. We don't have them. So that's part of it. And his inability to adapt, he's not adapting one iota. It's the same thing every time. And he's not adapting. I think that stubbornness and laziness, I think that's going to get him fired. We've just got another minute to go. And I'll let you give us the
fully disagree. I think that there's
please.
Some franchises in the NFL, wherever you look at Pittsburgh, the New York Giants, there's some franchises that don't bring in guys that are divas and would let them walk. And there's franchises that wouldn't bring in Deshaun Jacksons. You look at Notre Dame football, they have all talented players, but none of them are really getting in trouble off the field. I think you could field a team of guys that are reasonably nice individuals that aren't getting in trouble with the law, and you don't.
We're not
need
saying
those alpha
nice.
males.
We're not using the word nice. You got Odell Beckham Jr., who's a complete hot dog, but he's a great player. JPP, horrible decision.
He's a teammate, though.
Everybody's a teammate.
Odell Beckham is not selfish.
By the way, I don't think.
And I think Deshaun Jackson was in ways selfish.
Not really. I think I kind of knew him. The thing about Deshaun, he was kind of a loner.
Maybe.
Well, here's the point. Deshaun Jackson, I'm going to make a point. Deshaun Jackson was a bit of a loner. He kept to himself. He was an incredible talent. He look how many times that game against the Giants he single-handedly won. He was a game breaker. You only have a few game breakers in football. When you get your hands on them, you don't let them go for nothing in return. That was a critical error that will haunt this regime.
Yeah. Okay.
Closing thoughts.
You're right. You're
seconds.
right. I might
30
be.
seconds.
I might be wrong.
30
I
seconds.
might be wrong about Deshaun Jackson. I don't know him personally.
30 seconds.
We're
Let's
just
go.
going off
Get to
of
the point.
opinions.
Stay
I
on.
think Chip Kelly was successful in his hurry-up offense. I think he just needs to tone it back just a tiny bit in the fourth quarter. I still think that Chip Kelly's offense will work.
Will he get fired? Let's stay on point.
In college,
will he get fired? Let's very
Yes,
quickly.
he will leave.
20 seconds. Is he going to get fired? And who is going to be picked
in the
up?
next
20
year,
seconds. That's it.
I
Go.
think he's going to get fired not at the end of this season, but next season. And I think that he is incredibly successful football coach. He just wanted too much power. He brought in guys that are considered poor in the NFL because he wanted to remake them, and he wanted to add to his legacy of him being the greatest offensive mind that he could work with all pawns, like you said, and make them unbelievably successful. That's part of his ego, part of his ambition. I can see where he's coming from, but it's just not working.
And in closing, we want to thank everybody for logging into our podcast, Fans Interference, and keep an eye on it. And my feeling is, at the end of the year, bye Chip Kelly, welcome John Harbaugh, a true Philadelphian, and happy days will be here again. Thanks for joining in. Happy Thanksgiving. We're done.
Thanks for joining us.